promise you that when you walk out of here, that you will have all of the tools necessary in here to take your life, not just your business, your life, anywhere you want it to be.
I've been to training events over the years throughout my career, but nothing compares to this.
Everything he does is about how do I get this team or this individual to really go after their dreams and make it happen.
He's one of those people that he can predict where your downfalls are, help you to determine how you can fix those, and then move forward so that you can be successful.
Kori cares about how you develop your business, and he gives you the tools to succeed in your business. So I can build a legacy that just can go on and on and on.
Kori
is.
You say, why can't I break through? Why can't I get where I want to go in life and business? You literally are just a couple of degrees off. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. If you're not growing, you're dying. The only thing that's constant in life is change.
In everything in life, it is always 20% the mechanics and 80% the mindset. There we go. Let's try that now. Good job, guys. Good job. Mike, that was just on your end. Peter, you too. All of you, that was on your end. It was actually on our end. Let's do a sound and video check if you guys don't mind. Thank God for editing videos. Hey, Susie, how are you doing? But yeah, let's do a sound and video check. I'm looking at all my friends on Instagram. All right, perfect. So today I want to cover a topic that I think is very important. This actually goes back to, if you guys remember Silicon Valley, the big push for Silicon Valley and the conversation was, the goal was to fail early, fail faster, and fail forward. And what that means is, the goal is to fail as fast as you can to figure out what works and what does not work. What most people do in business is that they decide they want to go into business, they want to create some kind of a concept, they have a great idea, and they spend all of this time deliberating on what to do, and they put their business plan together, they strategize, they get around people, they try figuring it out, and they spend all of this time, effort, and energy doing things to launch their business, but the challenge is they're missing out on the most important component, which is action. I've been very privileged over the years to study and be around some of the most successful people on the planet, multimillionaires, billionaires. And the one thing that I can tell you, if we look at differentiators or commonalities between those people that achieve massive success, that earn amazing amounts of money, that everyone looks up and looks at, and is in the top 1/2 of 1%ers of the country or the world, one of the biggest differentiators of those individuals and the average person is the fact they take massive action. They decide what they want to do, and they figure it out as they're doing it. So don't get me wrong, if you're starting some kind of a business, let me ask this question, I'm just curious, how many of you type in the chat window on any of the social media platforms, type in the chat window, I'm actually watching all of them at the same time, which is why I look like I have an eye challenge as we're looking around all these screens here. How many of you have ever started your own business or thought about starting your own business, or maybe thought about having a company, or you had this great idea but it just never came about, it never happened, or you launched that business and it failed? We all know that 98% of businesses fail in the first 5 years. You have, for any kind of a business in the U.S., you have a 0.0006% chance of that business being around for a decade. So we know a lot of them do not succeed. And the question becomes, how do you avoid that challenge, or how do you at least reduce the challenge of having that business fail? Hey, Brian. So again, a lot of you guys, looks like you guys have thought about starting your own business, have started your own business. My question to you is, how many of you have started a company only to see it fail, or you gave up eventually? A lot of you guys, right? We all have done that, I believe. And the one thing that I see so many people making the biggest mistake is they have this idea or this concept, and either one, they don't do anything with it. They just sit there and they ponder on, well, what if this doesn't work? And what if I do this and it doesn't succeed? Or I don't know exactly what to do. And so they spend all of this time trying to figure it out and trying to figure out how to create success. But the one thing they fail is that they never launch. They never get off the ground. They never do anything. And here is what I've learned about successful people, is what they do is they assimilate all of the information they can as fast as they can. So again, you don't want to go out and just start a business and not have any ideas of what to do or any ideas as far as the activity you need to do to create success. You need to find the people that are around you, if there are people that are in your business or are doing something already in the same realm of what you want to do, and find out how they did it. If you don't have any of those people, read a book, go to an event, go to a seminar to learn what they know, and then apply it. But the issue that I have with so many people, and this is something that I'm seeing happen over and over again in personal development especially, is there are people that just go to event to event to event, or they go on social media and they watch all of the videos on social media. Again, you still are in the top maybe 20% of the population that just doesn't give a shit. If you're going out and actually attempting to go out and to learn, or at least motivate yourself. But the reality is, motivation isn't going to do it. Motivation is not going to do it on its own. You've got to do something about it. It doesn't matter if you have the answer. It doesn't matter if you research everything. I have a lot of people that I know that I went to school with, or that I've been around, that are very, very intelligent people. Or I go to events and I see these same people at the events, or I'm doing a speaking engagement and they're in front of the room and they're sharing with everybody and they're talking about how they're going to take over the world and do all these amazing things, but what they don't ever do is get off the ground. They don't ever get off their ass and get out and do something. See, here's the thing. If you're taking notes, write this down. Don't ever sit on the fence. Sitting on the fence will kill you, because inactivity is not going to, and what happens, you spend all this time and mental energy trying to think about all of the scenarios of, what if I do this and here's the results, what if it doesn't work, what if I do, and you just talk yourself out of it. What I've been able to do in my career and what I've learned is I will assimilate all of the facts, all of the details, all of the information as fast as I possibly can, and then I will make a decision. Once I make that decision, I will follow through with that decision all the way till the end. I will ride that. Now, if something doesn't work, what I'm going to do is back up a little bit. Again, going back to Silicon Valley's mantra, fail early, fail often, and fail forward. That means when you start your business, you want to fail as fast as you can, so you're not spending a lot of money and a lot of energy into it, and then figure out what isn't working. Now, failure does not mean I stop now. Failure means that something did not work the way that I expected it to. So that's the first definition you guys have to understand, is failure is not a bad thing. I love failing. I fail over and over and over again until I figure it out. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times for the light bulb. Colonel Sanders failed at close to 1,000 times going out trying to sell his chicken. Most successful people fail over and over again. You can look at Elon Musk and say, now creating the biggest car company in the world, and he fails so many times. When he created his first Roadster, and he did that the worst timing ever, right before the recession of 2008, almost went out of business. But then he had to tweak it. But he failed over and over again as early as he could. You look at the rockets. I will tell you, in my belief, the biggest differentiator between Elon Musk and NASA, for example, NASA could not believe, in fact, they talked to him later, they could not believe that he was able to do to build a rocket that worked as fast as he did. But what he did is, yes, he did jump off their shoulders to a degree, but it's not something you just do. There's so many moving parts to it. But what he did is he would tell his R&D, fail, Fail as fast as you can and learn from that failure, and then jump off of that and then do something else. So what I want to do at all times when I create something new is I want to figure out what doesn't work so I can then keep tweaking it to find out what does work. What most people do, again, is they have one roadblock, one failure, one no. They go to get financed, they do whatever they're going to do, and they then stop. They stop. Instead of going out and saying, I want to fail as fast as I can and figure out what not to do so I can figure out what to do until I figure that out. Now, let me talk about, this is something I look at with people that ask me to coach them and develop them and talk about what I think they should do with their business. And I had somebody a couple years ago, I won't mention the name on here because they're on my social media, but they had this business idea, this business concept, so they went out and started a brick and mortar business. So they got, all of a sudden now they've got rent on this brick and mortar business. They then went out and created all this inventory, and then they went out and did all this. When things weren't working, when they weren't making any revenue, this is what most companies do. When revenue is not happening, they feel somehow if they go put their money into a better brochure or a better website or better marketing, that somehow they're going to succeed. That's not true. It doesn't matter how great your website is if you have no traffic going there. You've got to get out there and take massive action and sell. And then you can use that money you make from the sales to bring about additional marketing strategies and advertising and marketing and whatever else. But you can't just go out and start a company unless you have unlimited amount of money. If you want to diminish the probability of you being out of business and knowing your company is going to succeed, is you got to live off of a shoestring budget. But you can do that now with the way the world works so easily. I'll give you an example. So first I want to explain something about myself. So first of all, I have a pretty large company. In fact, we have over 9 different companies now. And the energy company that we have, which is Energy Network, do you know how much background I had when I launched Energy Network? Zero. I had zero background whatsoever within Energy Network. Zero background in the energy industry. Nothing. But yet now we fast forward a decade and we were ranked, yes?
Keep going.
Okay. We were ranked last year as the number 2 largest broker of electricity. Our pricing desk, Unified Energy, the second largest broker of electricity in the U.S., third largest for natural gas. We have clients like Sazerac and Kori and Texas Roadhouse. We have clients like some of the largest private equity companies in the world. We have all of these clients. And yet, when I started, I knew nothing about the space. In fact, my first people, we were having a conversation on Saturday. We had a training this last Saturday. And we had a conversation last Saturday about some of the people that joined that opportunity with me. We now have 380 professionals around the globe, but when we started, we had a handful of people, and I didn't know what I was doing. I just said, look, here's what I know. We go out and we do this, and we do this. We're going to get a result, and we can tweak it, and we can develop it. We had one document. That's it, one document. And yet we were closing companies, bringing companies in like Whole Foods before Amazon bought them. We're doing billions of dollars in revenue. Now, how does that happen? It happens because I failed early, and I figured out what not to do, and I kept tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it until I figured out what to do. But during that time frame, I didn't invest money. I didn't put money into the things that didn't matter. Now, yes, I did invest over $6.5 million in the first 5 years into the company before turning a profit, but that money came into the things that were getting sold and done. I was dumping 100% of it back into it. Right? I didn't go out and keep pulling resources out from external sources or try thinking that if I created a new website. What's crazy is the first almost $300 million in revenue that we did as a company, we had the shittiest website. You guys remember the website? Remember our whole website, Rachel and Bree? Who were not paying attention to me, I don't think?
We're trying to help you, but yes, I remember.
Okay, perfect. I don't think they really care about me. So our first website sucked. Our first website was terrible. But it didn't matter. We went out and we had people that went out and created, $10 million worth of commission with that same website that others looked at it and said, well, if we had a better website, I could do this, I could succeed, I could do whatever else. Do you understand what it takes to start a company now because of how easy things are virtually? Do you realize how, COVID actually, this is I need to be careful how I say this because we've all had people that are loved ones challenged with COVID, etc. I get that. Businesses being out of, people being out of business with COVID. All these things have happened because of COVID negatively. What COVID did do in a positive way is that, in my opinion, it fast-forwarded how we do business by 5 to 10 years. It fast-forwarded people being willing to be on, like, in the past, when I would talk about, doing having a conversation with the CEO, I had to fly out and meet with them. I had to fly out and sit down. So I had to have one meeting in a day if I was lucky. Usually it was a day in, day out, and I was exhausted. Now I can do 4 or 5 meetings because they're all used to using Zoom or another platform like that. So we have such an ability to sit in your home office if you want to and build your business. People always talk about starting a company, right? The one thing I'm going to give you advice on is do not start a brick and mortar business unless you have plenty of money. Don't do it. Figure out if what you're doing is right. If you're going to sell, have an online business, have some way of doing it without having to have a brick and mortar business. Now, if you are successful and massively successful, you can choose to have a brick and mortar business, but don't start there. See if what you have out there, what people want. You have to have a huge R&D department. You have to have a huge skunk works department. You look at Boeing's example as an illustration, Boeing. You know where the conversation skunk works, where that actually came about? Is Boeing, back with World War II, the government came in and said, we've got to create this plane in record time, and we need you guys to do it to beat the Nazis. And the group with Boeing said, there is no way with all of the red tape and how long things take to get done, we're going to pull that off. So they had one group they had very privately. They actually put it next to a place that was like a processing facility, and it actually stunk. So people wouldn't be nosy around it, and they put it in this huge warehouse, and some of the brightest minds in all of Boeing into that, and they didn't even tell anybody else outside of what they were doing. And they created a cause so big, which is we cannot fail if we want to beat the Nazis. And they cut out all the bullshit, all the other side stuff, and they sat down and figured out what didn't work to make what the end product was. They deliver it 4 days ahead of schedule, almost 2 years earlier than the plane had ever been done at that magnitude, because they bypass everything. You've got to have your own, even if it's only you and your significant other or whoever it is, your R&D department. Figure out what not to do so you can figure out what to do. But here's the example. People think they can't start a business. So let me talk about optics. Optics is very, very important. Even when we were not a massively successful company, we look like a massively successful company. So, I mean, you can go out and if the first thing you want to do is create a URL. Figure out what your company is going to be called. Is there a URL available? You can get a website for $20 for a whole year, right? So you get your website, you create your entity. Now in most states, you can create a business entity for $500 to $750. You have a business, right, an actual business. Get your logo, go to 99 Designs, the other companies out there. I love 99 Designs. For $250, you have all these people and all around the world, a lot of them from India and China and elsewhere, giving you ideas on logo designs. You can have that logo done in 2 days. Last year we launched 3 companies. Bree, how fast did we launch those companies? The 3 companies we started last year, huh? I'll give an example. The last company, Ag Network, and then Med Network. Bree, in 2 days, didn't sleep. We had the entity set up. We had the website set up. She had a logo already done after going through like 600 different logos to figure out what exactly to do. The Professionals Network was 2 days. 2 days. We had the entity done. We're only waiting on the EIN number. The business was done. The logo was done. We already have business cards in the works. The website wasn't created yet, but you're looking at, let me do the math again, okay? So for less than $2.5 grand, you have an entire company and optics of a Fortune 50 company. $20 for the URL, $500 to $750 for the entity, $250 for the logo and design. You get an IVR system. You get a phone system, which is like $60 a month. Business cards, let's say counting all in and somebody helping with the design, $100. If you want to create a kick-ass website, $1.5 grand. You got $2.5 grand and you are in business. And you are in business. I'll give you another example of advice I gave somebody a few years ago. So they wanted to create this, what is it called? A media company, right? Or a company that would go out to companies and get them to allow them to do all their social media, allow them to create a website for them. So they would take brick and mortar businesses that weren't great online, and they wanted to go out and help them do that. Well, they spent so much time. I asked them how much business they were doing and how much they closed last month. And they said, well, we've been working on all of our setups and all of this and all of that, having a great website, having great branding and all of this stuff. And I said, why are you starting there? And when I looked at their whole business, they had been in business for 7 months. 7 months and had 2 clients. And that actually was buddies of theirs. I'm like, that's not how you do it. You go out and have this idea. You can create the brand and the whole website and every single thing to look like a Fortune 500 or Fortune 50 company for less than $2.5 grand. Now what you do is you go out and take massive, massive, massive action, not hiring other people, not trying to, you go out and do it yourself. If you can do it yourself and figure out how to sell it, how to do it, now you can invest that money into building it out for yourself. But then you can eventually bring somebody else in, preferably pay them commission-only direct sales, and say, listen, we're going to partner together. I'm going to get this. We're going to handle all the back end. You're going out and making sales happen, but now you can teach them how to sell. And that's how you scale it. When I started Energy Network, I knew nothing, but I went out and with some of our people that came with me, we went out and started calling companies. We started figuring it out. We spent almost our first whole year, believe it or not, most people would have given up and thrown in the towel. Almost our first year going after a state or a market, not knowing that we couldn't even get people into the market. We couldn't even service those clients at that time. And at that time, all we had was energy procurement. But we failed. But we failed forward. We figured out what not to do. We figured out how the conversation should go to get clients' interest. Where all of us fail is we don't look. If you guys ever watched the series Undercover Billionaire, it's actually the new one's that's really, really good. The one before that, I love I forget the guy's name is from Stearns Lending, is what he said the key to success, and I could not agree more, is finding out what the client needs or wants and then making something, a service or a product that fulfills that. The thing is, what most of us do is we sit there and try thinking what we would want, or if we were in their shoes, what we would want for them. Versus looking at it and saying, going and talking to the potential client and saying, here's what I have, and if they say, I don't want that, I don't need that, find out what they want and they need. And then create your product or your brand or your idea around that. If you have a handful of companies, 5 or 10 companies, and even if you go out, listen, if you start a business, you say, listen, you don't have to do business with me, you're a friend of mine, I want to get your opinion on this. Here's my idea, here's what I want to do. They will give you their feedback. That feedback is worth more than everything else you're doing. More than everything else you're doing. So the best advice, again, I can give you over everything else for those that want to start a business, have thought about starting a business, is spend the $2.5 grand with optics, building it, whatever, getting it set up. I just showed you how you could do that. Number 2, take massive, massive action yourself. Go out and sell. See if they want it. Fail. Learn from that failure and keep doing it until you get the results that you want. That's how you succeed. If you go out there and you do a Google search on the most successful people on the planet today, look at their stories. Look at how many times they fail. Richard Branson, in an interview, said out of every 10 ideas and concepts and companies that he starts, he only plans on 2 or 3 of those making something and being successful. Because he wants to go out as fast as he can and fail and learn from that and start going out and failing and failing and failing. And as you grow as a company or as you have more revenue, then it becomes easier to fail more often. But you don't want to sit there and deliberate sitting on the fence because, number one, you'll never take action. Your life's going to be on repeat mode for the next 10, 15, 20 years. As Les Brown says, one of my mentors years ago, Les Brown said, most people die when they're 25 or buried at 65 or 70. It's true with most people. Their life is on repeat. When you ask somebody how their day is, the same shit, different day, that should tell you something, right? Or they say just getting by. That's bullshit. That's terrible. If you don't want to do that, you've got to figure out what you want to do. Once you figure out what you want to do, fail as fast as you can. Get off the fence and make a decision, because indecision will kill you. Making a decision only means you're going to get a result. You can call it failure or you can call it results. You tweak it, you work it, you tweak it, you work it, you keep failing over and over again until you figure out what does work. It's as simple as that. I wish there was a shortcut, but there isn't. But the great thing is you have where in the past, it would take you so much to create a business, a company. But now most of what you do can be virtual. Most of what you do can be done online. Again, I could take any one of you guys, because we've done this over and over again. We're launching a brand new company in the medical industry next week in Charleston, South Carolina. 50 people are going to be there, a couple hundred that'll be on via Zoom to launch our medical division. Do Do you know how much background I have in that? Zero. But I know how to figure it out. And that whole company was launched, which will be worth hundreds of millions of dollars over the next 5 years. That whole company was launched with less than $2.5 grand. Just had this idea, this concept, partnered with somebody that had an idea that didn't know how to sell or market. There's so many ways that you can do it. We can talk more about this at a later time. But I just want to impress upon you, if you have this idea, this concept, this business strategy, it's not that hard to succeed if you simply go out, create the optics of it, $2.5 grand, the logo's done, the website's done, the entity is set up, all of those things are done. You have an IVR, so it looks like a Fortune 100 look and feel when they call in your 800 number, forwards to your cell phone. You've got Zoom now, which costs you $20 a month to do your client interactions. You can create an international company without leaving your home. And you don't have to go out and spend a lot of money. Once you have it set up, what you do is you go out and find out what the client needs or wants are and keep tweaking your idea until you figure it out. Until you figure out that secret sauce. And whatever your margin is, let's say it's a 10% margin, 20% margin, whatever it is, all you got to do now is how do you train someone else to scale that, and you leverage yourself. And that's how I went from, again, having a company with a few people, 3 or 4 people that were all independent consultants, bringing in deal flow, not knowing what we were doing, to now building a multi-billion-dollar business. Is simply going out and tweaking and tweaking and tweaking and figuring out what works, being nimble, and understanding that success in business is simply innovation and marketing and sales. That's it. Everything else doesn't matter. But what people get in the mindset of is all of a sudden I'm going to sell more, my revenue is going to go up, and I don't know what to do. Instead of getting off my ass and going out there and selling it, and selling my idea and figuring out what not to do and what to do, instead of doing that, I'm going to spend this money on a new website. I need to tweak this a little bit. Create a new brochure. My product needs to look sexier. You will lose every single time doing that to somebody who's going out and taking action and failing faster. All right, thank you guys for your time today. A couple of quick things. One is April 17th. If you get any value at all about what I share and when I come on live, etc., April 17th, I'm going to do a thing called Super Saturday with Kori. And what that's going to be is me for 12 hours giving you the most impactful ideas, concepts, strategies I can to take anyone and allow you to increase your wealth, to get a proper mindset, to know exactly how to become unstoppable in business and life, and to get where you want to be. And I'm going to try boiling down the best that I possibly can, the past 2.5 decades of education that I've been able to plug into, all the things that I've been able to do as an individual, and I'm going to give you guys as much as I possibly can. Now, it's not going to cost you anything. I'm doing it just to give back, and I'm also doing it to fuel a cause that I'm really plugged into and feel deeply about, which is Operation Underground Railroad. And what that is about is freeing sex slaves. They're former Navy SEALs, and so I'm going to put a dollar amount for each person that's on there. I'll talk about this later. And allow you guys, everybody to come on. It's not going to cost you anything. You can invite anybody you want to have invite to be a part of that. And I'm just going to give back. We're going to set up 10 huge TV screens so I can see all of you guys at the same time in your home office. It's going to be on Zoom. And we're just going to share for 12 hours. 12 hours may seem like a long time. How many of you guys have plugged into past events that I've done where it's 14 hours in one day, where we don't take any breaks, we just plow through lunch and have food ready sitting there? I believe in full immersion. I believe in taking your life, and if you just willy-nilly your life, you're going to have willy-nilly results. You're going to have mediocrity. I believe in creating massive impact and each step compounding off the past step. And I will give you as much tools as I possibly can in 1 week. And those that are part of, not 1 week, in 1 month, roughly, April 17th. So in about a month. And then those of you who want to take the next steps and really crush it, I'm putting an event together in Vegas, which is going to be at this point, the last week of July. We're still negotiating the most amazing location. Bree and I actually went out and spent some time with the hotels here a couple weeks ago. And we're going to put together an amazing 5 days, 5-day event in one of the most amazing venues possible where we can really move your life forward. So again, that's something we can talk about at a later point, but right now, mark your calendars, April 17th. I picked a Saturday for those of you who have a JOB, and it's going to be 9 to 9, 9 Central to 9 p.m. Central, 12 hours straight. And each 45 minutes, I will have a different topic, and I'm going to pick the 12 most impactful topics that change your life. So I hope you guys are willing to join me for that. We will have the registration link set up today. It's going to be KoriLeeLive.com, KORILEE live.com. So remember that, and we'll have that site. All you got to do is put your email address in that you want us to contact you about the event, let you know more details about it. Put your cell phone number down. We'll text you when the event gets closer and let you know what to do. And all you're going to do is go and you'll log in, and it'll be on via Zoom. You'll be on video, I'll be on video, and we're just going to share amazing things for 12 hours and impact each other's lives. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.